Hi everybody, welcome to the Cam and Kenna Show. We are doing our second installment, and today we are talking about first-time homebuyers and what they should expect from the process.
Kind of a little primer on first-time homebuyers just to get you started and get you out of the gate. You can refer to a video I did a couple of weeks ago about the first three things you need to do. And the first thing you need to do after, like I said, checking your credit report is you want to hire a great agent. So you want to come in here to the Grider-Peterson team at eXp Realty here in Idaho Falls. We're at 1573 East 17th Street, and you can interview any one of our agents here and pick the best fit for you. But every one of us here has years of experience and great high caliber agents. Lots of knowledge and cumulative experience. So we've always got folks that we can rely on if there's a situation that hasn't come up that we haven't encountered yet. We do have a lot of resources to help us get through anything that comes up. So, and we're all about preventing problems rather than being reactionary. We'd like to take care of it before it happens. So interview a great agent, come in here to the Grider-Peterson team, talk to us, sit down for 30 minutes. We can explain to you why you need to hire an agent, especially if you're a buyer, and talk to us. We'd love to sit down and talk with you.
Yep. We have probably, 30 years of experience within our building.
More than that.
Yeah, we've been doing really good. We have really great education tools as well, so we know our stuff, so come see us. The second part that you really need to worry about is lending, and that is the most important. The best thing to do before you even start looking at homes is to speak with a lender, find out what you need to do to get your loan started, so that we know what price range we're looking in, and so that we know exactly what we need to find you in your budget.
And especially in this market that we're in right now, as highly competitive that it is, taking a buyer out, and we're more than happy to do that if you want to just go look at some houses to kind of get an idea what you need. But you're going to run across that perfect house that you're going to want to buy, and we don't have your financing secured. So then we're showing you a house that you're not going to be able to make an offer on. You've got to get pre-approved very first thing before you even look at a house. That's imperative.
And the reason that you wouldn't be able to get in on it is because things are just moving so quickly in our market right now. Homes are lasting less than a week on the market, and if we really want to be competitive and we want to make sure that we get on the house that you love, we need to have that ready to go so that we can do that.
Absolutely. You know, a settler will look at the contract, the listing agent will present the contract to them, and they'll go down through that portion where it says the buyer has applied or shall apply within a certain number of days. And if you haven't already applied for financing, and I'm seeing so many listings in the information that they provide by the listing agent, they're saying if you don't have proof of funds or a pre-qualification letter, basically they're saying don't even bother sending the offer.
Yep. So
it's just kind of how it is in this market. It's that competitive and it's moving that quickly. The home prices aren't going down, so we need to be prepared, and getting your financing straightened out very first thing is the most imperative thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. The next step, once we actually get a home under contract, is getting your lender and title involved. Do you want to talk about title?
Title and escrow, they work out of the same building all the time, but there's two sides of the same coin, I guess. The title company is going to do a title search on the property and make sure that there's a clean, good, marketable title for the home, so that when it's transferred to you, it's not going to be transferred with any encumbrances or liens or anything of that nature, and make sure that we're selling the right property. So the legal description is incredibly important. I've heard horror stories. At one time I heard this horror story about somebody that had the legal description wrong, and they bought a piece of property and built a house, and found out 6 months after the house was completed that they built the house on the wrong parcel. They actually bought the parcel next to it on the other side of a canal, and now they had no access to their new house that they paid several $100,000s for.
And legally at that point it didn't even belong to them.
Yeah.
Because they were on the wrong lot.
That's things that we want to avoid, and that's our partners at our lending and title and escrow facilities that we use are top notch at what they do. They're the best at their job. So title is really important. That also underwrite the title insurance for that. So generally the seller is going to pay for what they call an owner's title policy, and that is an insurance policy on your title to your home, and it's the seller basically guaranteeing that it is a good, clean, marketable title. And so the title companies have a lot of work that they do in the background that really nobody ever sees. The escrow officer and her assistants, everybody talks to them because they handle the financial aspect of it, and that's what everybody's concerned about. They're like, well, how much do I need for closing? When's my closing date? How much is closing costs? What are these fees? What are those fees? The escrow handles all the financial end of that, and they talk to, if you have a current home that you've got to pay a mortgage off on before you buy your new one, they handle all the payoff, they handle the earnest money, they take care of all the financial things. But like I said, it's all in one building, but it's two sides of the same coin, but equally important. One can't function without the other. So
right, and we can't function without them either.
Absolutely.
They're a great part of our team on every transaction. So
absolutely. The next thing we want to talk about, so we're under contract and we've opened escrow, what they call opened escrow or open title, then you're going to have to schedule your inspection. And the inspection is something that we want to take care of as soon as possible for several reasons. We want to get it done as quickly as possible. I like to have an inspection done within the first 3 days after we're under contract. Unfortunately, in this market, with as busy as we are, sometimes we can't get an inspector in there for 5 to 7 days. But you want to give yourself as much time as possible. And just a little bit about inspections, and they vary from appraisals. A lot of people get inspection and appraisal confused. The inspector is hired by you to go in and do a visual inspection on the home. They're going to detect, not diagnose a problem. So if they see water damage or what could look like water damage, they're going to, hey, this looks like water damage. You may want to talk to the seller of the home or their agent, or go to what I call a next level inspection. You're going to want to get somebody from a mold company to come in there and inspect for mold. You might want to get a plumber in there to look for plumbing problems. If a light switch doesn't work, he's not going to check the light bulb. He's going to say, this didn't function. Talk to the seller of the home. Maybe you want to call an electrician, find what's going on. Now, generally, they'll look at the electrical panel, the sub panel, and if there's a breaker tripped, they're not in the habit of flipping breakers, but they might look at it and say, okay, there's a breaker off here. You know, but this is all about a visual inspection. It's not an invasive inspection. So invasive means they can't do anything that's going to alter the condition of the home. They just have to use their eyes and see what they're looking at. And it differs from the appraisal in that the inspector is hired by you to look out for your best interest and make sure the home that you're purchasing is going to have longevity and enjoyability. The appraiser, even though you're paying for that appraisal, they have the bank's best interest at heart. They're there to protect the bank's interest and investment and make sure that the home is going to appraise and it's worth the price that they're lending on it. So the functions are a little bit different, or in fact, quite different. But a lot of people confuse appraisal and inspection. So, like I said, the bank hires, or actually we don't get to hire them. We go to an appraisal management company now, and then they put it out there, and the appraiser says, yeah, I'll go do that. So that's one of the new laws that went in 2009 after the housing blow up in 2008. There were some new laws where real estate agents and lenders, we couldn't actually talk to appraisers anymore because for whatever reason.
yeah, and the great thing with inspectors too is you get to choose your own. We have some inspectors that we actually work with often and we trust, and so always ask your agent if they have a suggestion. But if you know an inspector as well, you can use the person that you know. When it comes to an appraisal, we actually don't have the option of selecting who our appraiser is. The bank actually selects. So, you know, that's the difference there too, between inspectors and appraisers.
So with your inspection, the things that they're looking for, we're not looking for cosmetic items. You know, if you don't like the color of the paint, or if there's paint chips on the wall, or things of that nature, or a cracked light switch plate. Those are cosmetic things, and cosmetic nature is not what we're looking for. We're looking for things that are structurally and mechanically in your systems that are going to affect the enjoyability of your home and the function of your home. They'll look at the HVAC, electrical systems, plumbing systems, heating systems. They're going to get up on the roof and take a look at the roof. I had an inspector when I was a brand new agent. I think I'd been an agent for it was less than a year. And we had an inspector get up on the roof and he's like, yeah, this roof is horrible. And the seller's like, I just had that done 4 years ago. So we went to a next level inspection, and we actually called out a roofer, a roofing company here in Idaho Falls, the one that's been in business a long time. And the roofer gets up there and looks at it and says, yeah, this is hail damage for sure. This roof needs to be replaced. And it turned out that they had a bad batch of shingles, but there was no warranty in there, but the homeowner's insurance covered it for him. But my buyer got a new roof on their home because the inspector caught it and called it out. So we're looking for things that are going to affect the core structure of the home. We're not looking at cosmetic things. One thing to note about an inspection that I want to make perfectly clear, it's not a code inspection. Your inspector for your home purchase isn't looking at building codes. One thing, building codes are only enforceable on that year when it was made. So a lot of people will look at a house that was built in the 70s and say it doesn't have the 4-foot ingress windows in the basement. It can only be evaluated on the code that was enforced when it was built. So to say, well, it doesn't have egress windows, it was built long before that. But I think built egress windows, early 90s, 92, 94, somewhere there, I think they became building code. So it's not a code inspection, not at all. If you want a code inspection,
homes on those windows, they're grandfathered in, so it's not an issue for like your appraiser or anything like that. But
one thing I see come up a lot on inspection reports and most inspectors, and the thing with most inspectors too, many of them have backgrounds in construction or one of the sub trades like electrical, HVAC, plumbing. So they do have, many of them do have a background in construction, so they know what they're looking for. But like I said, it's a visual inspection. But one thing that I continually see being called out on inspections is there's no carbon monoxide detectors. Currently, carbon monoxide detectors are not required by fire or building code. It's a good idea to have them in your home, but they're not required. But yet I see a lot of inspectors that will say it doesn't have a carbon monoxide detector. You can buy one for less than $20 at Walmart or Target.
Mm-hmm. And the best part about an inspection is just so that you know what you're purchasing. If there is something that's structurally unsound, it does give you the opportunity to walk away from the home if the homeowner's not able to fix it. And I mean, we learned that lesson the hard way. I had a deal just last year. The garage was completely tipping over and the sellers were unwilling to fix it, and so we got the chance to just walk away from that home.
So that's one thing in our contract. We have the inspection contingency on there. Even if you let's say you're looking at a home that's only a year old and you're very confident in the builder, and it's even if you love the house and you're not anticipating asking for any repairs, and let's say, like I said, in this competitive market, maybe you waive the inspection, I still think you need to have an inspector in there. You need to have another set of eyes on the house that knows what they're looking for, so that you have all the knowledge that you can possibly get when you walk into that purchase. When you get your new home, you're going into it with both eyes wide open and you know what you're getting into. Like I said, a competitive market, I know a lot of people are waiving those inspection contingencies, but I never, ever, ever advocate not doing an inspection.
I can agree with that. I definitely wouldn't, especially on an older home. Those are the most important to get inspections done. After the inspection, of course, you have the appraisal, which we talked a little bit about that. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about appraisals?
The appraisal, I think appraisers have an incredibly tough job. The biggest problem that I've seen in my career in real estate is appraisers, they're only allowed to use historical data, meaning they can only use properties that are sold and on the MLS. So if we have a home that was a custom built home and it never made it into the MLS, it was a direct contract between the buyer and the builder, and we have no historical data on it, then it's hard to find comps on those. And because appraisers are only allowed to use historical data, sometimes they're anywhere from 3 to sometimes 6 months behind the curve on appreciation. And we have markets like ours that are increasing like 15 to 20% a year. It's hard for appraisers because they've kind of got their hands tied when it comes to the comps that they can use, the comparable sales on homes. So, appraisals will come in short. It's because, like I said, they're only able to use data that's, that last home in the neighborhood sold a month ago. This is what it sold at. Well, that was a month ago, and you ought to see what they're selling for now. We get to see what's pending and what's actually on the market, but they can't use pending and active sales or pending and active homes for their appraisals. So they're in a tough position. And like I said, they're there to protect the bank's interest, and that's what they do first and foremost. Even though you're paying for the appraisal as a buyer, they're there to protect the bank's interest.
Mm-hmm. It also gives you the opportunity, if it doesn't appraise, to come in and ask the sellers to reduce the price. So sometimes, most of the time, there's a little bit of meat in the middle. Sometimes you do have to bring in some cash just to do that, but there's usually
appraisal
a way
gap that you talked about in our last video,
Yeah, there's usually a way that we can work it out between all parties so that everybody's satisfied. So, and then, the last thing to just say is, we teach first-time homebuyer classes all of the time. We also do one-on-one sessions, just consultations. We go through the process with you, and we're willing to offer you that. If you ever need or have questions, we're happy to sit down with you.
So when we want to talk about a few of the expenses that you're going to incur as a buyer, and closing costs are the big thing, and a lot of times people will confuse closing costs with your down payment. They're two separate things. Most of your closing costs are lender and title originated. So what the title company, the escrow fee is what the title company charges you to do the transaction, and generally that's split half and half between you and the seller. But you also have the recording fees. You're going to have what they call escrow holdbacks, or what do they call it, impound accounts now. So you're going to have usually a year's worth of hazard insurance they're going to pay up front, as well as seeding your escrow account with 3 or 4 months of insurance payments, and well as taxes. So you're going to have to put 3 or 4 months of property taxes in this impound account so that there's enough in there when the tax bill comes due that your lender can pay those. So there's a lot of things that are involved in that. The down payment's completely separate. That's what you're putting down on the home. And earnest money, if you want to, earnest money is part of your down payment, but that's what you put down and at the front end to show the buyer that you're earnest about purchasing their home.
Yeah.
But it does apply toward your down payment. But closing costs and down payment are two separate things. So.
Yep. So the earnest money is due within just a couple days of going under contract. And like you said, it's your way of telling the sellers that you're serious about buying their home. And then that is eventually applied to your down payment in the end. So it's not money lost. It's not just something that you're throwing away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, if you are interested in having a consultation with any one of our agents, please give us a call and set that up. We're happy to talk to you.
Absolutely. And like I said in the last video, make sure that you subscribe and tap that notification bell so you can be notified when we have new videos coming up. McKenna and I are going to be in here at least once a week trying to do a video for you guys to help you navigate these tumultuous waters of the real estate industry.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for stopping in.